Hello and welcome to Miss Lowry's third grade ELA classroom. Our word study objective. Today I can use context within and beyond a sentence to determine the meaning of unfamiliar words and multiple meaning words. Today we're going to be looking at antonyms. An antonym is a word that is opposite in meaning to another word. Antonyms show how two things are different. I'm going to model for you how to find the antonym for a word in a sentence. Read paragraph 22. And that is how the princess learned to like cinnamon. In fact, the whole kingdom loved cinnamon so much that the captain was kept very, very busy sailing across the sea for more. The old woman helped steer the ship, so he did not need his map. So we want to look for clues that's going to help us figure out the meaning of the word steer. I want to look for clues that's in that passage, paragraph, or selection. So from the paragraph, the words that I picked out as my clues is sailing across the sea. From there, I determined that if they're sailing across the sea, I determined that the meaning was driving the boat. She was steering the ship, they're sailing across the sea. So I know they're talking about some type of boat or ship. And so that steering must mean to be driving. So from there, I want to look for an antonym for the word steer. And I know antonym again means opposite. So I'm going to look for a word that is the opposite of steer. So if I determined or decided that driving the boat is the meaning of steer, I'm going to first get rid of A, control, because that's the same thing. Control, driving the boat, that's a synonym, and I'm looking for an antonym. Another one I'm going to get rid of is enjoy. Um, that just doesn't make sense in this sentence. The old woman helped steer the ship. So I know that she's driving the boat. It doesn't have anything to do with them enjoying doing something. So now I have to board or let go of. So if they're driving the boat and she's helping to steer the boat or the ship, I'm going to say that the best answer choice is going to be answer choice D, to let go of. Because if she's driving the boat, the opposite of driving the boat is letting go of it. So D is going to be the antonym of the word steer as it is used in this sentence. Now you give it a try. I want you to read paragraph 4, then look for clues to determine the meaning of the word commanded. From there, create your own meaning or definition. Eliminate two answer choices, and then choose the best answer choice from your remaining two. Remember, antonym is a word that is opposite. So we're looking for antonym, a word that is opposite. Let's check our answer. So the king sent for a sea captain. Sail the sea and find something new for the royal toast, he commanded. What clues can you find that can help you figure out the meaning of the word commanded? I pulled out the words find something new. He wanted him to find something new. So from there, I determined that the meaning was that he made him or told him to do something. He commanded for him to do this. So we wanted to figure out what was the antonym, which we know means opposite, for the word commanded as it is used in paragraph 4. I eliminated answer choice B to tell. He was telling him to do something, and so that's a synonym. We're looking for an antonym, something that is the opposite. The next one I got rid of is D, light. That just doesn't necessarily make sense in this sentence. He light, yeah, that just doesn't make sense. So from there, I determined that the best answer choice will be answer choice A, allow. Because if you're telling someone to do something, you're making them do it. So the opposite of that is allowing them to do that. Give them a choice on whether or not they want to do that. So an antonym, word that is opposite for the word commanded, is to allow. This week we're moving into a new genre. Today we're going to look deep into traditional tales. Traditional tales are stories that are usually passed from one generation to the next, and the purpose of them is to entertain. So we'll see characters that may be animals or people that have superhuman or magical abilities. The setting is not going to be like a real place in real life. We're still going to have a plot that has a conflict and a resolution, but some of the events that happen probably wouldn't happen in real life. We're still going to see a plot where we have settings, characters, and a sequence of events. Oftentimes, we'll see a moral or we see a lesson that is learned. So, some type of traditional tales we have are folklores, legends, myths, tall tales, fables, or fairy tales. Kompe Mono and Como Jicotia is a folk tale. Folk tales are traditional stories that have been passed down orally from one generation to another. We see in folk tales creatures or animals that talk as characters. In this, they have a plot where you have characters, which are animals, a setting, and a problem and a solution. Folk tales are often going to include a moral or a lesson learned. And these include beliefs and ideas of a certain culture. Like always, before we read, I want to go over some vocabulary words that you will see in the story. Theft. Theft is the act of taking something that belongs to someone else. The dog was guilty of theft. Inspected. If you inspected something, you checked it very carefully. Robert inspected the spider using a magnifying glass. Sympathetic. When you are sympathetic to someone, you are kind and understanding about his or her situation. The coach offers sympathetic words to Annalise when she is hurt. Suspicious. If you are suspicious of someone, you are untrusting of that person. Emma is suspicious as Jake wakes next to her locker. Reputation. If you have a reputation for something, others know or remember you for that thing. Miss Tam has a reputation of being the nicest teacher at school. Crafty. Someone who is crafty uses clever or tricky ways to get what he or she wants. Olivia found a crafty way to convince her mother to let her eat a strawberry before dinner.
Compe and come are short for compadre and comadre. If a man is godfather to your child, he is your compadre. A woman who is godmother to your child is your comadre. Since people usually choose good friends to be their child's godparent, compadre and comadre often just mean good friend. Campe Mono the monkey and Come Jicoti the turtle were neighbors, and they seemed to be the very best of friends. Campe Mono was a hard worker. He had a fine little farm where he raised all sorts of good food. In the east, he planted pumpkins, and in the west, cassava. In the north, he raised sweet potatoes, and in the south, yams. Each day, Campe Mono visited every corner of his farm to pull up the weeds and make sure no harm had come to his crops. He was looking forward to a very good harvest. But just before the pumpkins were ready to be picked, Campe Mono noticed that someone had entered his field at night and stolen some. At least 10 of them were missing. Campe Mono was worried, and later that day he talked to his neighbor, Come Jicoti, about the theft. "You'd better stay up tonight and guard your field," the turtle told him. "Stand there, on that little hill at the eastern end of your farm," she advised. "From there, you can keep watch over your pumpkins and see if anyone enters the field." Campe Mono followed the advice of his comadre. All night he stood at the eastern end of his little farm, carefully watching over the pumpkin patch to make sure no one entered. But the next morning, when Campe Mono inspected the whole farm, he discovered that while he was guarding the pumpkins in the east, someone had entered the western end and stolen his yucca. Theft. Theft is the act of taking something that belongs to someone else. Inspected. If you inspected something, you checked it very carefully. Campe Mono told Come Jicotia what had happened. "You must have fallen asleep," his comadre told him. "Tonight, let me guard your farm. The thief will probably enter the southern field this time. I'll stand guard there so that no one can steal your ñames." Campe Mono agreed, and that night, while Come Jicotia guarded the yams in the southern field, someone stole the boniatos in the northern field. The next day, Campe Mono told the turtle what had happened. Of course, she was very surprised and sympathetic. "How could that be?" she said, shaking her head. "I never closed my eyes all night long. This must be a very clever thief." Sympathetic. When you are sympathetic to someone, you are kind and understanding about his or her situation. Campe Mono was beginning to get suspicious. He knew that Come Jicotia had a reputation for being tricky. But monkeys can be tricky too, and Campe Mono thought of a way to find out what was going on. "Yes," the monkey said to his comadre, "there must be a very clever and dangerous thief in these parts. The next thing you know, they'll come into my house and steal my money. I know what I'd better do. I'm going to hide all my money up in the loft. No one would ever think of looking for it up there." That night, Campe Mono lay awake in bed listening. Late in the night, he heard someone tugging at the door. Slowly it opened, and then in came the humpbacked form of Come Jicotia. She headed straight toward the loft and began climbing the ladder. Campe Mono jumped out of bed and grabbed her. "You're the thief!" he shouted. "You're the one who stole my pumpkins and my yams and my yucca, and you thought you'd steal all my money too. I ought to throw you into the fire." Suspicious. If you are suspicious of someone, you are untrusting of that person. Reputation. If you have a reputation for something, others know or remember you for that thing. Come Jicotia looked very ashamed. You're right, she said. I deserve to be punished, but it won't help to throw me into the fire. My shell won't burn, and I'll never learn a lesson from that. You should throw me into the river. I'm terrified of the cold water, but I know it's just what I deserve. As everyone knows, monkeys are afraid of water, and so what that crafty Jicatia said made sense to Compe Mono. He picked up the turtle and ran to the river with her. He threw her as far out into the water as he could, and of course, the tricky little Come Jicatia swam away, laughing to herself. To this day, Come Jicatia sometimes comes out to sun herself on the bank of the river, but she spends most of her time in the water. She knows Compe Mono still wants to catch her and punish her, but she knows that if she just jumps into the river, the monkey will never dive in after her. Crafty. Someone who is crafty uses clever or tricky ways to get what he or she wants.
Let's answer some turn and talk questions. What event happened after Compe Mono became suspicious? Use the following sentence stem. After Compe Mono became suspicious, blank happened. When Compe Jacito decided to help Compe Mono, what happened next? When she decided to help, blank happened next. Our reading objective for today's lesson comes from ELA 3.8C. Today I can sequence the events of a story in logical order using a graphic organizer. When we sequence things, we are putting them in logical order in which they occur. Looking at this example, this is a sequence of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They're putting it in logical order in which the events that you need in order to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich occurs. So we first see that you have to take out your materials, your bread, your jelly, your peanut butter, and a butter knife. You're then going to put your 2 pieces of bread on a plate. On one side, you're going to spread the peanut butter. Then you're going to spread your jelly. You're going to put that together, your 2 pieces of bread together. And then the last thing you see is it to enjoy. Another example of sequencing things is things that you would do and things that I would do in order to get ready. So first I wake up and brush my teeth. Then after that, I let my dog outside and I make my coffee. Next, I get dressed for work. And then finally, I let the dog inside and I leave for work. So when we sequence events, we want to make sure that we're putting them in order in a logical way. Let's sequence the story of Compe, Mono, and Como Jicatia. So when we're looking at the sequence of events, we want to think about what happened at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I provided you with what happened at the beginning and what happened at the end. So you're going to provide me with the event that happened in the middle of the story. So at the beginning, Compe Mono was planting crops. He notices that his crops were gone. He asked his neighbor for advice on what to do. In the end, he set a trap. When he set the trap to find out who was stealing from him, he found it was his friend. He was angry and wanted revenge, but Come tricked him into setting her free. So what you're going to do is you're going to tell me what event happened in the middle of the story. So we're looking for an event that happened after the beginning, but before the end. Let's check our answers. So we were trying to look for an event that happened after Kome Mono, noticing that his crops were gone and he asked his neighbor for advice. But then we wanted to think about what event happened before he finally figured out who was stealing from him and was becoming angry about that. So the event that happened in between that was that the neighbor told him to watch the crops overnight, but still his crops were stolen even after she gave him the advice. This event happened after he asked her for advice and before he set the trap to figure out who was exactly stealing from him. So when we're sequencing events, we want to think about what happened in logical order. So what happened first, what happened next, and then what happened last. We're now going to move to the writing lesson portion of our lesson. For the first part of our writing lesson, our objective is today I can identify simple and complex sentences, and today I can describe the difference between a simple and compound sentence. A compound sentence is two simple sentences joined together by a comma and a conjunction. So we have a simple sentence, a conjunction, and another simple sentence to make a compound sentence. For example, Scamp is a good pet and he never barks. Scamp is a good pet could be a sentence by itself. He never barks could be a sentence by itself. But we combine those two with the conjunction and to make a compound sentence. So when determining if a sentence is simple or compound, we need to ask ourselves, does the sentence tell one complete thought or does it tell two complete thoughts? So let's look at this. Jack is hungry. Let's determine if that's simple or complex or compound. That's going to be a simple sentence. It's only telling one complete thought. But Jack is hungry and he is going to the ice cream shop. That's a compound sentence. It's telling two complete thoughts. So we just discussed the difference between a compound sentence and a simple sentence. So I want you to explain what is going to be the difference between a compound sentence and a simple sentence. I want you to use the following sentence stem to help gauge or to help structure your thinking. A compound sentence has blank, while a simple sentence has blank. What is the difference between a compound sentence and a simple sentence? A compound sentence has blank, while a simple sentence has blank. When identifying which conjunction to use, we must ask ourselves which kind of ideas are being joined into one sentence. There's several conjunctions that we can use. We're going to use the acronym FANBOYS to help us remember the different conjunctions that we can possibly use. F stands for, A and, N nor, B but, O or, Y yet, and S so. We're really going to focus in only on 4 of these conjunctions though. And we will use and when we're trying to help add one clause or phrase to another that is similar to one another. We use the conjunction but to show a contrast, a difference. We will use the conjunction or when we're trying to add an alternative to an already existing positive alternative. And we will use so if it's used to indicate or show a result or consequence of an event. Looking at these sentences, we're going to combine these sentences, but you have to decide which conjunction will be the best conjunction to combine these sentences. 1. Stan is tired. He needs to take a nap. Which conjunction would you use to combine those sentences, those two simple sentences? 2. Ulysses has a great jump shot. He isn't quick on his feet. Number 3. I really need to go to work. I am too sick to drive. 4. They got there early. They got really good seats. And number 5. Everyone was busy. I went to the movies alone. So you should be writing these sentences and deciding which conjunction can you use in order to combine these two simple sentences to make a compound sentence. Let's check our answers. So we were trying to decide which conjunction should we use in order to combine these two simple sentences. Stan is tired, so he needs to take a nap. We added our comma and our conjunction of so to combine these two simple sentences together to make one compound sentence. Ulysses has a great jump shot, but he isn't quick on his feet. Adding the comma and the conjunction of but, we combine those two simple sentences to make one compound sentence. I really need to go to work, but I am too sick to drive. We combined these two simple sentences with our comma and our conjunction of but to make a compound sentence. They got there early, so they got really good seats. Combine those two simple sentences together with conjunction and comma and conjunction so to make a compound sentence. Everyone was busy, so I went to the movies alone. We added comma and conjunction of so to combine our two simple sentences to make our compound sentence. When we're determining if a sentence is simple or a compound sentence, we have to think, is it a complete thought or does it have two complete thoughts? If it has one complete thought, it is a simple sentence. If it has two complete thoughts and has a comma and a conjunction, then it's a compound sentence. So compound sentences combine two simple sentences together with a comma and a conjunction. The first part comes from the objective ELA 3.11a. Today I can develop a draft by planning a first draft using strategies such as brainstorming, free writing, and mapping. Last week in our writing process, we started in the pre-writing. So now we're going to move to the next part of the draft. Here's a reminder of the writing prompt that we are writing our personal narrative on. Write about one of your goals for this year and how you think you can accomplish them. Remember, a good personal narrative tells a story about an event from the writer's life. It's going to include a beginning, a middle, and an end, giving details to help the reader understand the experience of that person and explains why the experience was important. As a reminder, we use the following graphic organizer to help organize our learning. So our writing prompt again was write about one of your goals for this year and how you think you can accomplish them. We identified our audience as our students and teachers, and the purpose is to entertain. So we chose one goal from our graphic organizer that we want to focus on. So the goal that I'm focusing on is my goal of saving money monthly. We then planned our beginning, our middle, and our end. With our beginning catching our readers' attention and addressing the readers and establishing the purpose of the writing. The middle giving details about how the goal is going to be achieved. And then in the end, it tells why I want to accomplish this goal, why we want to accomplish this goal, and what is going to be the outcome. So again, here's a blank graphic organizer. If you were not able to get this graphic organizer complete last lesson, I'm going to give you a few moments to try to fill in the beginning, the middle, and the end, just planning it out. In our previous lesson, we worked on our introduction. The introduction catches the reader's attention, and the writer addresses the readers and establishes the purpose of the writer. In my introduction, I had my hook. I hooked my reader. I used a quote in order to hook my reader, and I explained what my paper was going to be about. You have officially saved 10,000, the bank teller let me know. I cannot wait to hear those words. One goal that I have is to save a certain amount of money each month. Here's the body of my paper. Again, I'm giving details about how I'm going to achieve my goal of saving money monthly. In order to meet my goal, I will need to budget my money. Budgeting my money will help me only spend on necessities. Buying only the things I need will help me be able to not overspend. I also need to stick to the budget. When I want to buy things that are not on my budget, I must remind myself that I created a budget for a reason. Any extras I buy must be on the budget for the month. Here, I gave my 2 ways that I am going to save money monthly. I'm going to create a budget and I'm not going to steer away from that budget. So here in your body paragraph, you're going to give at least 2 ways that you're going to achieve this goal. Today, we're going to finish up our personal narrative by writing our conclusion. In our conclusion, we're telling why we want to accomplish this goal and what will be the outcome of us accomplishing this goal. So here's my conclusion. Saving money will help me be able to buy a house and start my own business. I will also be able to support my family and provide for them a better life. These are the reasons why I want to do a better job of saving money. So in here, I talked about why I want to accomplish this and what will be the outcome. And then I concluded by summing up, telling them that these are all of the reasons that I want to accomplish this goal. These are all the reasons why I want to start saving and doing a better job of saving money. So now you're going to write your conclusion. In your conclusion, remember, you're telling why you want to accomplish this goal and what is going to be the outcome of you accomplishing this goal. So once you accomplish this goal, what's going to happen? We have reached the end of our reading writing lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining in and viewing my video lesson for this week. I hope to see you next week for my next lesson. Goodbye.